My name is Anna. I am 32 years old, and for the longest time, I believed my life was ordinary in the best possible way. I had a stable job, a cozy home, and a husband I loved more than words could express. Daniel and I had been together for 8 years. 8 years of shared laughter, whispered dreams, quiet mornings, and warm embraces that felt like home. I thought we were happy. I thought he was my forever. But life has a cruel way of shattering illusions, of pulling the rug from beneath your feet just when you feel secure. Looking back, maybe there were signs, small cracks forming beneath the surface, hints of something slipping away, but I refused to see them. Love makes you blind, they say, and I was no exception. That evening started like any other. I stood in the kitchen, stirring a pot of soup, the aroma of garlic and herbs filling the air. The clock on the wall ticked steadily, marking the passing moments, the empty space at the dinner table growing heavier with every passing minute. He was late again. He had been late a lot recently. I told myself it was work, that he was busy, that things had been stressful for him. But a tiny voice in the back of my mind whispered a different story, one I didn't want to acknowledge. The soup simmered, bubbles rising to the surface, and I found myself gripping the wooden spoon tighter than necessary, my knuckles turning white. The air felt thick with something unspoken, something inevitable. And then, finally, the sound of keys at the door. The click, the creak, the familiar footsteps. Except they didn't feel familiar anymore. When Daniel walked in, I turned, expecting the usual. Perhaps a tired smile, a quick kiss on the forehead, an apology for being late. But there was none of that. His face was drawn, his eyes unreadable, his shoulders tense in a way that sent an immediate wave of dread through me. He walked past me without a word and sat at the table, his hands clasped together, his gaze fixed downward. Something was wrong. My heart pounded against my ribs, a cold sense of fear creeping through my veins. I placed the spoon down with trembling fingers, suddenly aware of how dry my throat had become. "Daniel?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He exhaled, a slow, measured breath, and then those words came, the words that shattered my world in an instant. "We need to talk." I didn't move. My legs felt rooted to the floor, heavy and unresponsive. I knew, even before he said it, that nothing good ever followed those words. My fingers twitched at my sides, my stomach twisted into a painful knot. I wanted to freeze this moment in time before the truth could be spoken, before my world collapsed, but time was cruel. "What is it?" I finally managed, though my voice betrayed me, shaking with the weight of fear. He lifted his gaze then, but only briefly, his eyes darting away as if the sight of me was unbearable. "I don't love you anymore," he said, his voice quiet, almost apologetic, but the impact was anything but soft. The words slammed into me like a physical blow, knocking the breath from my lungs. My vision blurred, my chest constricted, and for a moment I forgot how to breathe. Silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. The room felt too small, the walls closing in. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. My mind screamed for an explanation, for something that made sense. "What?" The word barely left my lips, a ghost of sound. He swallowed hard, his fingers tightening around each other. "I'm sorry, Anna," he said, and there was a kind of sadness in his voice, but it was distant, detached, like he had already mourned the end of us long before this moment. I searched his face, desperate for something, hesitation, regret, anything that might tell me this was a mistake. But there was nothing, just quiet resignation. And then he said it, the final nail in the coffin. I met someone else. The room tilted. My stomach lurched. The air was suddenly too thick, too heavy. My hands curled into fists at my sides, nails digging into my palms, the pain grounding me in a reality I didn't want to accept. It wasn't planned, he continued, his voice strained. It just happened. A bitter laugh bubbled up inside me, sharp and humorless. It just happened. Love doesn't just happen. Betrayal doesn't just happen. Choices are made. Lines are crossed. Promises are broken. My entire body trembled, a violent storm brewing beneath my skin. But still, I stood frozen, rooted to the spot. So what now? I asked, my voice hollow, unfamiliar even to myself. Daniel exhaled, rubbing his temples like this was difficult for him, like he was the one suffering. I'm leaving, he said, and just like that, the last remnants of my world crumbled. There was no discussion, no attempt to fix things, no fight to hold on. He had already decided, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. I watched in numb disbelief as he moved around the room, packing his things into a suitcase. Every sound, the zip of the bag, the rustling of clothes, the soft thud of shoes against the floor, felt like a dagger to my heart. I wanted to scream, to throw his belongings out the window, to beg him to stay. But I did nothing. I just sat there, silent tears streaming down my face, watching as the life I knew slipped away piece by piece. When he finally stood by the door, suitcase in hand, he hesitated for a moment. I really am sorry, he said. I didn't respond. I couldn't. And then he was gone. The sound of the door closing was deafening, the absence of his footsteps, the sudden silence, the void he left behind. It was unbearable. I sat there, unmoving, listening to the stillness. And then, finally, I broke. A sob tore from my throat, raw and uncontainable. My body folded in on itself as I rocked back and forth, hugging my knees, trying to hold myself together when everything was falling apart. The grief was suffocating, an endless wave crashing over me, pulling me under. I cried until my head ached, until my throat was raw, until there was nothing left inside me but emptiness. And when the tears finally stopped, I sat there in the dark, alone, drowning in the echoes of a love that no longer existed. Morning came, but it brought no relief. The weight in my chest remained, a crushing presence that refused to lift. For a brief moment, as I opened my eyes, there was a second of peace, a second where I forgot. I reached for the other side of the bed, expecting warmth, expecting him, but my hand met only cold sheets. And then reality struck again, sharp as a knife, and the pain returned, fierce and unrelenting. I forced myself out of bed, my body sluggish, my mind numb. The house felt different, emptier, colder, haunted by the ghost of a love that once was. His scent still lingered in the air, his presence woven into the very fabric of the space we once shared. I walked through the rooms, touching the things he left behind, small remnants of a life that was no longer mine. And then, standing in front of the mirror, I saw myself, pale, hollow-eyed, a stranger. I lifted my hand to my wedding ring, my fingers trembling against the cool metal. I couldn't take it off, not yet. The days that followed blurred together, an endless cycle of going through the motions, pretending to be okay when every part of me was broken. At work, I smiled when necessary, answered emails, nodded at conversations I barely registered, but inside, I was crumbling. Nights were the worst. The bed was too big, the silence too loud. I held my pillow close, as if it could replace the warmth that was gone. Sometimes I picked up my phone, my fingers hovering over his name, the urge to reach out overwhelming. But I never did, because I knew he was with her now. Time has a strange way of healing wounds, not by erasing them, but by dulling the sharp edges, by allowing you to carry the weight of your pain differently. When Daniel left, I thought I would never recover, that the pain would consume me until there was nothing left. I spent months feeling like a ghost in my own life, moving through each day in a haze of memories and unanswered questions. I tried to forget him, but forgetting is impossible when someone has been a part of you for so long. His absence was everywhere, in the empty space beside me in bed, in the way the house no longer smelled like his cologne, in the silence where laughter used to be. But what I didn't realize then was that absence does something else, something unexpected. It creates space. At first, that space felt unbearable, a gaping wound in my life that I didn't know how to fill. I drowned in it, let it swallow me whole. But eventually, that space became something else. It became possibility. It became a place where something new could grow. It didn't happen all at once. Healing never does. It was slow, agonizingly so, like learning to walk again after an injury. At first, I only moved through the motions, waking up, working, coming home, sleeping. I forced myself to eat even when food tasted like ash in my mouth. I forced myself to get out of bed even when the weight of sadness felt too heavy to carry. And then, one day, without realizing it, I laughed. It was something small, something insignificant, a joke a coworker made during lunch, but the sound startled me. It had been so long since I had heard my own laughter that it felt foreign, as if it belonged to someone else. That was the first moment I realized I was changing, that I was moving forward even when I thought I wasn't. The pain was still there, but it was no longer the only thing I felt. I started doing things just for myself, things I had once loved, but had abandoned somewhere along the way. I went for long walks, letting the crisp air fill my lungs, watching the world move around me. I picked up my old sketchbook, my fingers hesitantly tracing lines across the paper until the images in my mind began to take shape again. I read books late into the night, getting lost in worlds that weren't my own, in stories that reminded me that pain wasn't the only thing life had to offer. And slowly, so slowly that I almost didn't notice, I began to feel like myself again. But not the same self. Not the woman who had once defined her happiness by another person. Not the woman who had built her world around a love that wasn't meant to last. I was someone new, someone stronger, someone who had learned that survival was not just about existing, it was about choosing to live. There was a morning, months later, when I woke up and didn't think of him first. It wasn't a dramatic moment, not like in the movies where everything suddenly clicks into place. It was quiet, simple. I opened my eyes, stretched, and listened to the rain tapping against the window. And then I got up. That was it. But it was everything, because for the first time, I wasn't waking up to heartbreak. I was just waking up. Life moved forward, as it always does. I found joy in unexpected places, in small, ordinary moments that I once took for granted. I decorated my home differently, making it truly my own for the first time. I started traveling, something Daniel and I had always talked about, but never did. I visited places I had only dreamed of, stood in front of ancient ruins and felt the weight of history beneath my feet, sat in quiet cafes and watched strangers pass by, their lives unfolding in ways I would never know. And with each experience, I felt lighter, as if the pieces of myself that had been broken were being put back together in a new way. Then, one afternoon, I saw him. It was in a bookstore, of all places, a quiet little shop tucked away on a busy street. I was browsing the shelves, my fingers trailing over the spines of novels, when I looked up and there he was. For a moment, time froze. He hadn't changed much. His hair was a little shorter. There were faint lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before. He looked good, happy. And beside him was her, the woman he had left me for. She was smiling up at him, her hand resting lightly on his arm, and the sight of them together should have hurt. But it didn't. Not in the way it once would have. There was an ache, a distant echo of pain, but it didn't consume me. It was just a memory now, something that had shaped me, but no longer defined me. Daniel saw me then. Our eyes met, and for a split second, something passed between us. Recognition, maybe a hint of regret, or perhaps just understanding. He nodded, a small, almost imperceptible gesture. I nodded back, and then I turned away. I didn't need to speak to him. There was nothing left to say. He had been a part of my story, but he was not my story, not anymore. That night, I sat by my window, a cup of tea warming my hands, and watched the city lights flicker in the distance. I thought about the woman I had been, the one who had sat in this very spot months ago, broken and lost. And then I thought about the woman I was now, stronger, wiser, whole. The pain had not disappeared, but it had transformed. It had become something else, something I carried with me not as a burden, but as proof that I had survived. One day I would love again. I knew that now, but it would be different. I would not lose myself in someone else. I would not shrink or bend or break for the sake of keeping another person. Love, when it came again, would not be my foundation. I would be my own foundation. And that, I realized, was the most important thing of all. As I finished my tea and turned off the lights, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. True, quiet, undeniable peace. And for the first time, I knew I was going to be okay.